Hello traders, welcome. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. I certainly did. The weather was fantastic. A really interesting week setting up here. So let's just quickly dive into this. I think these markets are incredibly bullish. The US markets were a little bit sluggish last week, but they got bought in a short Easter week. And here's the DAX, which is absolutely powering away on the back of ECB easing and a very weak dollar, a very weak euro. A weak euro really suits a powerhouse like Germany. So DAX is benefiting big time, and I think there's a knock-on effect as well, which I'll talk about shortly. But you can see we've got a weekly hammer here of 12,060, so that makes sense to see if that gets bought. That gives us a drop. We need quite a significant drop on that. So let's see. As it's so far ahead of itself, then give it a chance to pull back. On the data front, we are really quiet on Monday, but after Monday, we've got Chinese trade balance and US Fed budget a couple of hours before the close. Otherwise, next to no European or UK data until we get to Tuesday when we've got UK inflation. So if UK inflation is 0 or we dip slightly or big time into deflation, then obviously that's going to have a major impact on the pound, and already last week we saw a couple of days of heavy selling on that. US retail sales and Euro rates, CAD rates, G20 all day Thursday, Friday, Aussie jobs coming ahead, but positive news expected on the whole for US, expecting a decent set of results for US retail sales. We're expecting a good Philly Fed level. We're expecting housing starts to improve and so on, and inflation to be flat on Friday. So I think we need to get Monday out of the way, and of course the data 9:30 Tuesday. I'm going to be doing nothing on Monday until I see at least a couple of hours trading in the US market, and even then I'm only going to be checking the charts, not actively looking to engage the markets unless we get some good setup. So obviously we've got a very strong dollar, and equity markets across the board from Asia, Europe and the US all pointing higher, with a stronger dollar, weaker euro, weaker pound, and a flat to strong Aussie. So where does that leave us? So talked about the DAX. Let's look at the Russell index. Okay, so here's where the hesitation comes in. We're just coming to the highs on, this is weekly on the left, daily on the right. Hesitant push up, so obviously need to see what the Chinese data is on Monday. And you can see this trend line I've got coming underneath all this level in the Dow. So it's a question of, if we get to the top of the channel, are we going to roll over? Well, yeah, we're going to look at that as time comes up. Let's just take it one step at a time. We have some divergences. No, we don't actually. We've had lower highs in the weeklies, but that trend line is holding. So we're in an apex. I'm expecting us to slop around in here, and possibly as we come out of results season and as we head towards the top of that channel, at that stage maybe we're in for a correction, because we are, that's an incredible bullish chart. As we all know, charts don't go straight up. There is a potential for a wave down, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about waves, market waves, on the Elliott wave theory on Traders Roundtable, so do join us for that. Okay, so we've got bullish indices with the potential for a buy around about the 18,000 mark in the Dow. In the S&Ps, you can see again nice weekly chart on the right, so that's a buy. I would look at Friday's low to get into that 2092 with the possibility of pushing up to the top. And Nasdaq, we narrowly over the last couple of weeks dipped under this trend line here, popped back above it. So as long as we hold 43.95 into the first part of the week, first half of the week, then we are bullish. We are the only hesitancy I've got is we are close to all-time highs in these US markets, and this Nasdaq in particular, if it can't close above 44.40, then I would be very suspicious about this move up, and this could be a potential three-wave breakdown. So that's why I'm very, very keen on this and not doing much on Monday, and looking for some signals as to what we're going to do. But overall, very bullish. And we look at that as a 4-day week. We engulfed last week's price action very neatly on that. So let's get the gold and the oil out of the way. Gold is hesitant here, sideways. A trap between the 50 and the 200, closing. I think we're going to come in back to retest 12.15. At that stage, the strong dollar might see this drop, so that's why I'm very keen on the Aussie pairs. But keep holding above 12.10 in the early part of the week, and that could push right into 12.50. So if we see some dollar weakness, that could push that up. I think the risk of a downside in this market is the stronger dollar, because if the data starts feeding through that this strong dollar is choking the US, then I think the pound and the euro could see a push to the upside. But we just need forget the fundamentals. Let's just stick to the charts and just get Monday out of the way. We'll go into a lot more detail on Traders Roundtable. So this is really just a sort of brush stroke across the markets at this stage. One of the reasons why I'm looking for weakness in the dollar, particularly in the first part of the week, is this US dollar CAD, and I think the CAD could start to get some momentum here. Rate decision on CAD on Thursday, I think. Let me double check. No, it's Wednesday. So it's Euro and CAD rates on Thursday. I think the CADs could start to see some strength. If we look at this daily chart on the US dollar CAD, we had a sell-off under here at 127.75. We've pushed back up last week, but failed at 126. So I think we could see this US dollar CAD actually start to roll over now. I think this is a three-wave push, which is failing, and I think any push higher into that level there, 126, 126.50, could see that sell and start pulling back some of this extreme move we've had, because that is a very extended weekly. You can see that I've got that box up there in the weekly, because this is the 09 reversal, the March 09 reversal is up here, and we are struggling with this 09 box, from which started the decline from the high of 130 all the way down to 94.40. So weekly's had divergent RSI. It was a slightly higher close last week, but I think at the very least we'll need some kind of pullback to 120, potentially 120 on that. So at the moment we've got, the markets are open. I am actually doing this quite late, so I apologise for that. The pound, as usual, with massive data coming up, is right on the line. I drew this box a few weeks ago on the weekly, and we are just still holding it at the moment, albeit with a selling from 159.60 area. So if we come into 147.30, 147.50 and start, or slightly higher would be better, retested that reversal bar, then at that stage we could roll over. But I think Monday will probably be very flat unless that Chinese data is radical, and then leave the door open for some moves on Tuesday. If you look at this pound yen, we've had very range bound, very narrow February and March here, which is why I'm suspicious of the downside of the pound yen. I think if we dip into 173, if we do sell, we dip into 173, 172.50, I think that could get bought. So we might dip back into this box and then push out. Otherwise, we might be flat into Tuesday, and then potentially, depending on how the market feels about the data, that will tell us what the direction potentially for the rest of the week and beyond. But I'm just, obviously that's 2 days of very heavy selling. So at the moment we have to go with the charts, which would suggest a sell at 176.50. So I've got that marked and looking for 176.50, and of course going to just be very patient about the markets until we get that UK inflation out of the way. This one as well, heavy selling. We're between the 50 and the 200. I would love to see this come down to 189. So a weak inflation figure or deflation figure could see that drop nicely, at which point I would wait to see if we could hold down here. But that's a lot of selling. If we do go to the upside and hit 193, then that's going to be a real line of fire there. What happens to 193 could dictate the market for a few months, well into the summer on that one. So it's a seller's bar, so we trapped between the 50 and the 200. So if I was to trade anything, I would short, but on a pullback, but certainly not on Monday unless something's compelling. Okay, so that's the pound pairs. Let's look at the euro pairs. One of the most interesting pairs out there at the moment is this euro CAD. Both these pairs have got rate decisions on Wednesday, but we're seeing a push up in the oil, and we could be getting ready for a breakout in that oil if that US dollar CAD particularly is right. Another reason for potentially shorting US dollar CAD because of the rise in oil, CAD being a commodity pair. So this one is a pullback. This one is a sell according to the weekly at 134.60, and that's what I've got my eyes focused on. We closed underneath this weekly support, so 134 is the sell point on the daily, but I'm expecting an overshoot. I'm hoping for an overshoot to see if that will let me have a chance to get in. Euro Aussie is right on that line, but a pullback to 140 is a potential entry for the next leg down. CAD yen is another way to trade. There's two ways to trade oil. You could short US dollar CAD or buy CAD yen. I think this is a really bullish chart. You can see that weekly. Let me update the fibs on this. Weekly is trapped underneath that 50 EMA, but I think with a hammer last week, I think this could see a pop. That's the long-term fib levels. We're sitting on this 61.8 last week, got bought. So just to close above 96.50, and I think that could start to motor. Ideally, I'd like to see 95.40.50 for a buy, but I think with a lot of congestion up there, I admit that, but I just think this is getting ready to pop. If the markets are that bullish, I think we'll see further weakness in the yen, and if the oil is going to push up, then that is one to watch. Whilst the weekly stochastics are just coming off the lows, The daily is turning down. That's the only thing that put me off. I do like the stochastic momentum chart, or the indicator. At the moment that is high. Now that can stay high for as long as it likes, but just making me cautious for the first part of the week. What else do I need to look at? We've looked at gold. Let's look at oil. Hit the top of the weekly box I've got marked here, and this daily. So you can see what I'm looking for in the oil is, it's in a box play, and you can see I've drawn this box at the lows of 43.70 and the highs of 54. So it's basically a $10 box. If that breaks out of that box, I expect a $10 move over a period of time. So we have had, so far, we've had one wave. Don't know why that's not working properly. One wave to top of the box. Why is my pen not working? One wave to the top of the box, wave 2 down, wave 3 into last week. So I would like to see at least 51 here. A lovely double bottom of the 5-minute chart. Again, this is much better to trade in the US session. It is, after all, the WTI index, which obviously going to get volume in the US period. So this is a good one for Monday. I think oil at 51 is a potential for that to get back to 54, and if we close above 54, that opens the gates for 64. My mean average, which I've been talking about, is 64 to 74. Put the fibs, I haven't got fibs on this, let's put the fibs on the whole of this move, and you can see 58 comes up as a fib level, so that will be a really nice push. If we come off the 50 EMA, 55 EMA, and break out at the top of this box, and then we'll start to wing our way up to that 200 EMA on the daily. Alright, but yeah, we are trapped in a box, so don't fill your boots. Let's be cautious, and let's see where that goes. I mean, last week, one of the better indices, not only did the DAX really drive higher, the FTSE drove really high as well. Lovely funnel panel which into early March, which dragged that right down to the 200. It overshot the 200. Overshooting the key levels is not uncommon, and that's a really nice push to the upside. And you can see on the fibs on the weekly, pull back to 69.75. Could see that test 71.23. Alright, do join me on Traders Roundtable. We're going to go into a lot more detail on these charts, and we're going to do some stock scanning, look at some really nice stock sectors. So enjoy what's left of your weekend, and please do join me at Traders Roundtable. Ask me for a link if you haven't got one. Thank you, and see you soon.